So it's been roughly around a year since GameStop announced that they were going to launch into this retro initiative where they were going to have a particular focus on retro video games. And I wanted to do a little bit of a recap since it's been roughly around a year since the official GameStop Retro initiative kicked off. And I kind of want to share my experiences with some of the games that I've been able to find and hopefully be able to shed some light on what you can expect to get from GameStop in terms of retro games, and also probably some of the better ways to leverage GameStop for retro. Now, I've had a mix of games that I've picked up. I've actually picked up quite a lot of retro games from GameStop over the last year. They've actually become my primary source for shopping for retro games, if I'm going to be completely honest. And that's just because they're typically the easiest place to shop for me. Because one, I can go into any one of their retro stores and just see what they have, or two, I can shop online. Now, these games that I'm showing you here are the games that I've typically found, and the generations that I'm going to highlight in this video are going to be third, fourth, and fifth generation games, and some sixth generation games. I really don't want to go into seventh gen because I feel like seventh gen, while I guess it is technically retro, it's still so readily available that I don't think in the minds of a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people still truly consider Xbox 360 and PS3 retro yet. I think when people think retro video games, they think cartridges, they think sixth gen and older. So I've found a lot of these games when it comes to fourth generation titles. These games are typically ready and available a lot of times. As a matter of fact, if you go on GameStop's website right now, you're likely to see at least one of these games that you're looking at here. But GameStop has shocked me when it came to the Super Nintendo, not just in terms of the obscurity of games that I've been able to find, but just the variety of games that I've been able to find. And they're not all super crazy expensive games, but games like Street Fighter Alpha 2, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Earthworm Jim 2, and even a game like Super Street Fighter. These aren't the most rare games or anything like that, but these aren't games that you would typically see at a GameStop. And a lot of times these are games that have somehow come out of trade, or maybe they were just in their warehouse and they finally uploaded them to their site. These games were purchased both in store and online. It's a little bit of a mixed bag here. And my only complaint, which is something that I've only seen a few times, is when GameStop puts the actual price sticker on the label of the cartridge. That's really stupid because, as you can see, when you remove the sticker, it does this type of damage here. Now, part of that is my own fault. I should have been smart and I should have actually heated up the sticker with a glue gun so that it would come off more easily. But when you're not thinking about it, these things happen. But this is just kind of speaks to some of the variety that you're able to see when it came to fourth generation games for the Super Nintendo. But then, I was able to find a lot of really kind of more obscure and rare titles, including games like Phantasy Star 3, Biker Mice from Mars, The Adventures of Batman and Robin. You've also got Breath of Fire. You've got UN Squadron. You've got Lost Vikings. So here's a little bit of a mix of games that is a little bit more uncommon, and some of these do start to get a little bit pricey. And GameStop really shocked me with some of these games because a game like Adventures of Batman and Robin is a more expensive game. It's not a game that you see quite often. But when you're able to pick these games up during a buy two, get one free, it drops the price of the game for you for sure, and you're able to get some really good deals. So I've been able to find some really kind of more obscure or rarer titles for the Super Nintendo, but it goes even deeper because GameStop has shocked me every once in a while with games like Top Gear 3000, Maximum Carnage, The Red Cart, Super Mario RPG. You've got games like Kirby Superstar, Brain Lord, which is a recent pickup, and then probably my greatest Super Nintendo find of all time, you've got games like Mega Man X2. So this is just another stack of more obscure kind of random titles that I've been able to find on their website. And again, when you're able to get these during a buy two, get one, or a 4 under 20 for 40, or something of that nature, or when you're able to use coupons and discounts, it really starts to stack up. And as you go back through your collection, you start to see how much you are actually able to save by picking these games up on their website. And to be honest with you, 7 times out of 10, the labels are actually in really good condition. The good thing that I like about getting retro games from them is that if the label isn't in good condition, you can just take it back to, one of their stores and basically return the game. So overall, I found a really solid stack of Super Nintendo games from GameStop. And I would have to say that from a 4th generation perspective, they're actually doing their thing. You do have to be consistent, and you do have to check their website and go and pop into their retro stores from time to time, but you can definitely find some good stuff. I mean, looking at 3rd generation stuff, I've actually had some success there. When you look at games like the Adventure of Link, Legend of Zelda 2, the original Legend of Zelda, both of these games coming in pretty good shape. Mega Man 5. You've also got games like Shadow of the Ninja. These are some really solid titles on the NES, and titles that you don't typically find. Mega Man 5 is actually a pretty pricey game on the NES. It's about a $125 game. But they've had this game. I was actually able to get this game during a buy 2 get 1 promotion. I actually bundled this game up with a copy of Def Jam Fight for New York, and I think I bundled that with Def Jam Fight for New York and a GameCube game. It was a pretty pricey GameCube game to maximize the deal. So NES, they definitely have some really good NES stuff. You really kind of have to keep a closer eye out for the good NES stuff, because usually when the good NES stuff pops up on their site, it doesn't stay there for long. But I've also been able to get games like Mega Man 1, another really solid game, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. That's actually a really sweet find. I was glad I was able to find that. And then earlier this year, I picked up Metal Storm, and probably one of the rarest NES game in my collection, Felix the Cat. So all of these were GameStop pickups that I was able to get within the last year or so. I think a couple of these I might have gotten a little bit older than a year, because GameStop had been selling retro games prior to when they made their announcement. But a lot of the games that I picked up during that time, those games were really undervalued, really undervalued games. So I've definitely had some success with the 4th gen. And then moving on over to the 5th generation games, just a few N64 games to share with you here. Nothing too crazy. You've got Resident Evil 2, Clay Fighter 63rd and 1/4, and then Fighting Force 64. Just some more uncommon N64 games that I found at GameStop. You're always going to see like your Mario Parties, your Mario Kart Racing, your Mario 64. But when I'm looking for N64 games from them, these are typically the types of games that I look for, just kind of more of the off the beaten path type of N64 games. And then I've had a ton of success when it came to the original PlayStation as well. I'm not going to be able to show everything that I've picked up on the PS1, but I'll show a few games. A complete in-box copy of Metal Gear Solid is always great. We actually played this for a bit when I actually got it. This actually is a really good game. Like, going back to it, you can definitely see how dated it is, but it's crazy to see how much this game has influenced not only the gaming community, but just pop culture in general. Metal Gear Solid is a dope game. Then you've got like Tales of Destiny 2, a very unexpected find. Definitely more on the rare side. One of the most rare GameStop pickups I've ever gotten. And then you've also got games like Parasite Eve. So definitely had some success with the 5th generation. There's plenty more PlayStation 1 games that I could talk about, but I just kind of wanted to highlight some of the harder to find PS1 games. And, finding PlayStation 1 games in stores a lot better, because usually that's when you'll be able to get the jewel case. I've kind of noticed that when you order these games online, you typically don't get the jewel case, and they just come disc only. So definitely had some success there with the 5th generation. I would say I've probably had a lot more success with the 4th generation stuff than the 3rd generation or the 5th generation. But I've had a ton of success when it came to the 6th generation, particularly with GameCube. I've built more than half of my GameCube collection through GameStop's website, including some recent pickups like Eternal Darkness, complete in box, Twilight Princess, complete in box, Pokemon XD, complete in box with the poster, Chibi Robo. This one was missing a manual, but still pretty solid find. You've also got Pokemon Coliseum, complete in box, and then Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. And isn't even the half of the GameCube games that I've been able to find at GameStop. And it's been a mixed bag here as well. Some of these were purchased on their website, and when you do purchase on their website, it is a gamble. Chibi Robo and Pokemon Coliseum were website pickups. It was a gamble, but it came complete. Same thing with Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. This was a huge gamble, but not only did it come with both discs, it did come with the manual and all inserts. So this was actually a really, really sweet pickup for me. I was glad I was able to get that. But then you have in-store finds as well. Oh, actually, no. Eternal Darkness was an online pickup as well. This one also came complete. But XD and Twilight Princess were in-store pickups. So these were actually really sweet finds. I didn't even realize that this had the poster in it until I came home and I was looking at it, and I shared on my channel that I had picked it up, and someone had mentioned, they said, hey, make sure it has the poster. And when I popped it open, sure enough, you've got this poster here. So definitely a really, really sweet find, you know, when it comes to just building up the GameCube collection, because I wasn't really huge on GameCube for a while. Like 2-3 years ago, I wasn't really collecting for GameCube at all. Like I had maybe 5 GameCube games in my collection, but I just kept running into them at GameStop. And so I was like, well, you know, I'll go ahead and add them, especially when I'm able to get them on a deal. So I've had a ton of success when it comes to the GameCube pickups for sure. And they've done their thing there. You know, they're not perfect. I mean, and a lot of times you will get disc-only stuff, but I've had success building my GameCube collection. And then you've got other pickups from them that I've gotten. Mario Kart Double Dash was another complete in box pickup that I got from their website. I got this one. This one actually had the bonus disc and the manual. So this was a pleasant surprise for me. Was glad to be able to add that to the collection. And then you have games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for the Xbox and Fatal Frame 2 on the PlayStation 2. There's definitely more Xbox games that I picked up that I could go into. Same thing with the PlayStation 2. I mean, from Shadow Hearts to Guitar Man to, I mean, just the list goes on. There's so many Generation 6 games that I've picked up from them, complete in box, that have just added to my collection. So definitely good stuff. And a lot of these were picked up, like I said, usually with all of these pickups, with a lot of these games, from the GameCube stuff to the NES, Super Nintendo, and then PlayStation, I mean, a lot of this stuff was really purchased at 40% of market value on average. And these were all games that stayed in my collection. A lot of times you see people, they'll make pickups and, you know, they're just picking up stuff to trade or sell. Pretty much everything that I've picked up from them has stayed in my collection, because I've used them to build my collection. And then just kind of tying it up here with some more Gen 6. I'm not sure if DS is 6th gen or 7th gen, but I've even had some success with DS games. Not going to show you all the DS stuff that I've picked up, because I have picked up a lot of DS games from them as well. But one of my most recent pickups, Mega Man 3 Star Force Black Ace. This has been a really rare find. This was an in-store pickup. Was shocked to find this. The same thing with Okamiden on the DS. Both of these games are on the more expensive side. Star Force, I would say, is a combination of rare and expensive, because I really don't see that. I've seen Okamiden out in the wild before. I don't know how many times I've seen it, but I've definitely seen it before. This was actually a sweet pickup, because this was like a $36 pickup. And Okamiden for the DS is like $100 game or so. This one's actually pretty pricey. And maybe it's come down a bit, I'm not sure. But Okamiden definitely is more on the expensive side. And just being able to find these in great condition too. Like a lot of times with a lot of these games, with a few exceptions that I showed you, like with the Super Nintendo games that had the label damage, outside of that, a lot of the games that I kept in my collection were like at least 8 out of 10 condition, like really good labels, really, really good labels, just quality stuff. The manuals usually were in really good condition, and I didn't really have any issues. So, and I could go on for more. I could show you guys a lot more games that I've picked up through GameStop's website and using their initiative, but this is my overall, I guess, just opinion on it. I would say that the glory days of shopping at GameStop for retro games are behind us. The reason why I say that is because before the GameStop initiative, you were able to get really good deals on retro games. Like, they were not priced according to where they're at now. A lot of times the retro games were really underpriced because they were basing the prices off of like values from I don't even know how long ago. And you could tell they just weren't keeping up. Like, I guess I would say that the prices that they had were pre-pandemic prices for their games. Um, and if it was a game that was like more rare and expensive, but just no one had caught on to it, then you were able to get really, really good deals. Like games that would be $80 would be like $10. Games that would be $120 might be like $30. You were really able to do damage like that. Between 2023 and 2024, I started to notice that the prices started to really tick up. Like, I noticed GameStop started paying a lot more attention and they were changing prices in real time. Now, granted, in a lot of cases, they were about 3 or 4 years late. Like, they were 4 years late in pricing these games up to their market value. But eventually they did it. And I would say that now, today, everything is pretty much at market value for retro pickups. So it really doesn't make sense to buy a retro game unless you're using points, unless you have some type of coupon, or unless you're getting like a buy two get one deal. The only time it really makes sense to purchase retro games from GameStop with no promotion or no deal or anything like that is if it's a really expensive game. And hear me out. The reason is that I feel like they cap themselves on certain games. So if it's a game that's like $400, they're really not going to go above like $150, right? $150 is still a lot of money, but for a $400 game, that's a really good deal. So if you're, buying a game like Misadventures of Trombone for $160, everybody knows that's a really expensive game. So that is still a good deal. And that's the only time you're really going to see deals like that. I feel like any game that's expensive but is like under $125 is going to be priced within like 10 to 20% of the market value. So you're really not going to get a super huge deal there. But if it's a really more rare and expensive game, then you're going to be able to take advantage and get some like really good deals. So is it as good as it once was for like more mid-level, mid-tier common games? Probably not. Nah, they've caught on, they price everything accordingly, and they're going to charge you what, I guess eBay or Mercari or any other aftermarket site would charge you. They're going to charge you. But I still think like I said, if you can find some deals, if you can, go into their store and see something at a good price, or even 20% below market, if it's a game that you really want and you've been hunting for, but it's just too expensive and you're able to find it for 20% cheaper, as a collector, you're going to go ahead and pick that up. So I think there's value there for you. I think that it's a mixed bag. I think that my experience is probably going to be a lot different from other people's experience, because you have a lot of people who just are still not satisfied with GameStop. They detest them. They detest their business practices. They don't like how they do things. And a lot of the success also is location based, especially when you're shopping in store. I've seen videos of Mr. Rightway walking into his GameStops and buying like rare Sega Saturn games. Like, that is something that you're really like, that's timing, that's location. Timing and location. Like, I think he's in Texas, and that's where like their GameStop like headquarters is. So I would assume that they've got a lot of more rare and retro stuff in that part of the country. I'm on the East Coast, so I think where I benefit with GameStop is I benefit from trade-ins. You got a lot of people who trade in rare stuff, so I can jump in and take advantage in that way. And probably the same thing in California. Like, if you're in Southern California, California in general, if you're in Boston, if you're in any major city where people are trading stuff in, then you can capitalize there. But it's not going to be the same for everyone. It's not going to, your location does make a big difference in terms of your in-store experience. But the equalizer, or the thing that kind of makes up the difference for that, is their website. And you can find deals on their website. It could be a hassle, I know there's no guarantee. It could be a hassle, there's no guarantee, things could come in jacked up condition, but then you just return it. I haven't had many issues returning things in the last few months, maybe even in the last year. And yeah, there's deals to be had. And I didn't even start talking about all the Pokemon stuff that I found, all the just rare shoot 'em ups that I found. This is just kind of more a surface level overview of a lot of the stuff that I found. But I say give it a try in 2025. Is it the same? No. Are the deals as good? No. But if you have coupons, if you shop at GameStop already, if you have points, pro member points, if you're a pro member to begin with, if you can catch a buy two get one, if you can catch a 420 for 40, then it makes sense. But let me know your experiences. I know I'm going to get a lot of GameStop hate comments. I know a lot of people how they feel about GameStop. Some people love it, some people hate it. I just use them for what they're good for. And they're good for certain retro games, and so I'm going to use them for it. But let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.